My husband, who just received his certificate, became my chief military training instructor. After the college entrance examination, my best friend and I got the certificate. But who would have known that on the first day of my military training, he actually became my chief instructor? I have just entered university and am full of expectations for university life. As soon as I finished packing my things, I received a video call from Zhu Ma. "Baby, how's the new school? Are you tired of moving things?" A drop-dead handsome face appeared on the phone screen. This person is my sweetheart. His name is Sche. I grew up in the same community and was 3 years older than me. After graduating from high school, I was admitted to the National Defense Science and Technology College. In order to better develop my abilities, I chose to join the army as a soldier. I put down what I was doing, pulled out the chair, and sat on it. Fortunately, I'm not very familiar with the school. I'll go to the restaurant to eat later and see how the cafeteria is. "Baby, I'm going on a business trip recently. It's in the city where you went to college." Xing Zichen stared at the girl's face and said maliciously, "Ah, is there a business trip? Okay, I understand." I seem not used to losing contact again and again, but I still didn't ask too much. After finishing speaking, the person on the other end of the phone said goodbye hastily. "Baby, put the phone away. Let's talk next time." Before I could speak, I was hung up on. After that, I didn't think much about it. But who would have thought? On the second day of military training, I saw my husband, who had just received his certificate. Looking at that handsome and miserable face on the podium, I even wondered if I hadn't woken up yet. Next, let the freshman representative speak. I felt that my steps were particularly heavy. Looking back, Xing Zichen asked me to fight for this freshman representative. "Dear classmates, teachers, and instructors, good morning. I am Chi, a 20th grade freshman in the business school. I am honored to stand on the podium and speak on behalf of all 20th grade students." Even though I was very nervous, I still spoke fluently according to the speech script. After finishing speaking, I slowly walked to the edge of the podium. "Okay, thank you to the freshman representative for your speech. Next, I would like to ask our chief instructor for this military training, Instructor Xing, to talk about the process of this military training." After hearing these words, the steps down the steps slowed down, and finally, he simply stood on the steps quietly, watching Xing Zichen walking up to the podium step by step. "Hello, everyone. I am the chief instructor of this military training. My name is Xing Zichen. You can call me Instructor Xing. This military training lasts for 2 weeks. I hope that during these 2 weeks, the students can complete their military training without abandoning or giving up." Listening to the familiar voice in my ears, I was even more reluctant to move back to my team. It wasn't until Xing Zichen finished speaking that I reluctantly returned to my team. "This is the end of the opening ceremony of the school and military training. Please return to your own training area and start training." I wanted to look back at the ruthless person, but found that no one was there at all. To no avail, I followed the team back to the training ground. As soon as we entered the training ground, we saw an instructor who was about the same age as us standing in the middle of the ground. Seeing us walking slowly, the instructor yelled, "Hurry up! Why are you wasting your time? This is a training ground, not a place for walking. Hurry up and gather." Amidst this roar, everyone was like ants on a hot pot. The more anxious they became, the less they could find their place. Hurry! Finally, the team took shape. "Hello, everyone. I am the instructor leading your military training. My name is Tian Kai. You can call me Instructor Tian. Next, I will tell you what you need to pay attention to when standing in the military posture.
Attention.
I will only say it once, so listen to me. The most basic thing about standing in the military posture is to hold your head high and look forward. Separate your feet at 45 degrees, lean forward, and put your body's center of gravity on the balls of your front feet. Do you understand? I have to say that Instructor Tian's voice is really loud, and he will be startled every time he highlights the key points. I understand. Now that I understand, then stand in a military posture for 20 minutes. The September sun is fierce and scorching everyone. Only Instructor Tian, who was standing in the shade of the tree, did not receive the blessing of the sun. Time passed little by little, and the sweat on his face dripped down drop by drop. Even if he did not do anything, he already felt very tired just standing. The scorching sun above our heads showed no mercy to us, and we were already so hot that we couldn't even open our eyes. Inner OS, why is 20 minutes so long? If it doesn't end, I'm going to lie down on the ground. The sunlight above my head seemed to be blocked by something. I felt that it was not as sunny as before, so I slowly raised my head and saw Xing Zichen standing next to me. He still looked serious, looked down at me, and took no other action due to his status as the chief instructor. The inner OS said, "Tisk, yesterday I returned the baby and the baby screamed so serious today. Why are you pretending?" Instructor Tian, who was sitting under the shade of a tree, stood up in a hurry when he saw the chief instructor coming to inspect. "Squad leader, are you inspecting?" Instructor Tian looked at us standing in military posture seriously, as if waiting for the chief instructor's praise. How long have they been standing there? Xing Zichen asked Instructor Tian, looking down at the sweat on my face and my sweat-soaked collar. Instructor Tian raised his wrist and looked at his watch. It's been about 20 minutes. Okay, let them rest for a while. After saying this, Xing Zichen walked to the corner of the training ground and took out a bottle of mineral water. At the same time, Instructor Tian also organized the students to take a break. With the sound of dismissal, everyone was too tired to move to the shade and sat down on the spot. Drink water. I heard a familiar voice in my ears. Looking at the person squatting beside me, I took the bottle of water with the cap unscrewed. Looking at the bottle of water, there was no new action. Instructor Xing, it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. Xing Zichen put the water into my hand and rubbed my head. Drink slowly, don't choke. Looking at the water in my hand, I slowly drank it one by one. The people around me did not leave, but stood up to help me block the sun. Although I had expected that this man would not shy away from suspicion, I didn't expect that he would become famous in the freshman circle in this way on the first morning. Instructor Tian next to him looked at the scene and couldn't help but be a little surprised. Even though there were many questions in my mind, I never asked them. The classmates in the same class were also discussing quietly. It wasn't until I got my phone during lunch that I realized that I was popular in a unique way. In the lunch restaurant, Instructor Tian walked to Instructor Xing with a dinner plate and sat down. Captain Xing, what's the matter? Have you fallen in love with the little girl in our class? Although the girl is really good looking, she is also a freshman representative and her abilities are not bad. But this is not your style, so you can't hold your breath. Instructor Tian looked at Captain Xing next to him and couldn't help but tease. Yes, I'm attracted to her. My wife is the one who received the certificate. Captain Xing glanced at Instructor Tian next to him and said calmly. Instructor Xing's voice was not loud, but the surrounding instructors and students all heard it and couldn't help but open their mouths, and some even dropped the chopsticks in their hands. I've finished eating, please take your time. After saying that, Instructor Xing left with the dinner plate, leaving a bunch of people staring at each other. It's lunch break time. Just as I was about to lie on the bed, I saw a video call from Xing Zichen. It was customary for him to listen externally, but considering his status as a chief instructor, he still connected his headphones. Baby, why did it take you so long to answer the phone? I miss you so much. Listening to the annoying voice on the phone, there was no way to connect him with the chief instructor on the training ground. I'm in the dormitory. I'm afraid of disturbing others. Even the Bluetooth was delayed for a while. What's wrong? Are you busy? My legs are sore after standing all morning. When I remembered that the person opposite was the chief instructor, I became angry. Baby, how was your first day of military training? Do you think your husband is super handsome? Looking at the narcissistic little dog on the other side of the screen, he couldn't help laughing, with two little tiger teeth exposed. Yes, he's handsome. He's so handsome, especially when he's blocking the sun for me. Really? I think he's very handsome too. Oh, baby, I miss you so much. There are so many people in military training who can't stick to my wife. It's so annoying. The man on the screen showed an aggrieved expression. Okay, be good. I can see you again in the afternoon. Then, my dear boyfriend, can you tell me what the afternoon training is about? Chi poked the face on the screen with a flattering look on her face. The man on the screen smiled, thought for a moment, and replied, should I reveal it? This may not be convenient. After all, I'm just my boyfriend. After saying this, he covered his heart and made a sign of grievance. The corner of Chi-Chi's mouth curled up. Enough is enough. The man didn't seem to hear the answer he wanted and said slightly disappointedly, since the baby is not sincere enough, just go through it yourself this afternoon. Seeing Xing Zichen's squirming expression, Chi really wanted to go up and hit him a few times, but she couldn't do it and she blushed. Xing Zichen looked at the red face on the screen and said with a smile, okay, baby, go to bed now. We'll talk about the afternoon. Good afternoon, baby. After that, Chi hung up the phone. Maybe she was too tired in the morning, so Chi fell asleep within a few minutes of hanging up the phone. The sunshine at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is the most poisonous, but the military training is still going on. After the sleepy Chi put on the military training uniform, she was pulled to the training ground by her roommate in a daze. The sun is still exerting its own energy, and the dazzling sunlight has become softer after being blocked by the leaves. Along with the cry of cicadas, shouts also rang out on the training ground. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. Who is a good person who just wakes up and runs 3 kilometers? How can you run away under such a bright sun? You won't get heat stroke. Instructors, stop it. Stop destroying the flowers and bones of the motherland. It's crazy, family. It's terrible. After Instructor Tian announced that the afternoon training tasks were to run 3 kilometers and stand in a military posture, he heard wailing after another on the training ground. Okay, don't wait. You can run when you are ready. Finish running early and rest early. Chi looked up at the big sun hanging in the sky, frowned, and looked at the complaining classmates, unable to be dragged by her roommate to run 3 kilometers. Chi, are you okay? It's about to start. If I faint, you have to hold me up. If you don't hold me up, don't let me fall on my face. Chi-Chi's roommate Zhang Zishuan took Chi-Chi's arm and shook it. Get to your places. Get ready. Run. With the order, everyone reluctantly started the long 3 kilometers. Zishuan, you go first. I'm a little distracted. Please let me slow down, and I'll chase you later. Chi patted Zhang Zishuan beside her. Ah, are you okay? How about I wait for you, and let's run slowly. Zhang Zishuan looked back at Chi, whose pace was gradually slowing down, and couldn't help but feel concerned. It's okay, it's just a misfortune. Just let me take it easy. You run away first. Chi squeezed Zhang Zishuan's hand to indicate that he was okay. Zhang Zishuan had no choice but to give up, lower her head, and continue running forward. Chi slowed down, walking step by step. Each step was extremely difficult. The sun above her head was shining brightly, and a drop of sweat slowly slid down Chi-Chi's hair. Captain Xing, our task this afternoon is a bit difficult for these thin-skinned college students. All of them are young ladies and young masters at home, and here they run 3 kilometers under the sun. The gap is a bit big. Look at that girl. She is starting to walk. Following Instructor Tian's gaze, Xing Zichen looked at the girl leisurely on the playground and couldn't help but frown. Turning around, he threw Instructor Tian's words behind him and turned around and walked towards Chi-Chi. Honey, please don't run away. Xing Zichen walked up to Chi-Chi, leaned against Chi-Chi's ear, and whispered. Chi-Chi stretched out her hand and pinched Xing Zichen's waist. She gritted her teeth and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Instructor Xing, huh?" After saying that, Chi continued to run. Xing Zichen, well aware of his child's temper, raised his legs and started running with her. "Keep your strength, keep breathing, follow my rhythm, don't be anxious." Xing Zichen ran to Chi and said. As Xing Zichen inhaled and exhaled, Chi gradually stabilized her breath and maintained her rhythm. Follow this and complete the remaining laps. After finishing the run, Chi collapsed on the ground tiredly, her face red, her head lowered, and breathing heavily. Get up, don't be in a hurry to sit down and rest after running. Get up and move around, otherwise your body will be very uncomfortable tomorrow. Looking at Chi, who was slumped on the ground, Xing Zichen stretched out his hand to pull her up and move around. Before Xing Zichen's hand touched the person who was slumped on the ground, Chi lied down like a fool and kept shouting, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't stand up anymore. Just feel bad. If you feel uncomfortable, it will be tomorrow. Xing Zichen had no choice but to squat on the lawn, holding Chi-Chi's calf in his hand to massage her and relax her muscles, so as to prevent the little girl from crying and saying that her leg hurt the next day. A quarter of an hour later, most of the students had finished the 3 kilometers. Even though everyone was out of breath from exhaustion, it did not prevent everyone from gossiping, nor did it hinder the rapid fermentation of the post hashtag on the relationship between freshmen and instructors on the forum. A freshman girl has good tricks and is listed as the chief instructor on the starting list. Whose girl is this? She ran 3 kilometers during military training and had to run with the chief instructor. What a great honor. Picture. Spicy crayfish. Oh my god, the relationship between these 2 people is extraordinary. The instructor even accompanied them on the run. There was a person who was freezing to death in the cold weather. Not only was she running with her, I heard that the instructor even gave her a massage after the run. Picture. PPPST. What's the relationship between these 2 people? The fish who loves pickled cabbage. But at first glance, these 2 people are quite good looking, so why are they a little bit annoying? Even though the forum has exploded, the people involved are still making love to each other on the playground. Everyone, after running, don't be in a hurry to sit down, don't be in a hurry to drink water. Get up and move around. If you feel unwell, tell the classmates around you immediately, the instructor said, and go to the infirmary in time. We will gather in 30 minutes. Instructor Tian stood on the podium and shouted with a loudspeaker. 30 minutes later, everyone, stand up and assemble. The instructors of each class will bring them to the training ground and start training. With an order, the long military journey begins again. In this peaceful afternoon, a group of teenagers with basketballs broke the tranquility. Classmate, it's time for freshman military training. Other students are not allowed to move on the playground. Looking at the classmates holding basketballs, Instructor Tian approached and reminded them, Instructor, we didn't delay your military training. Let's just play a ball, okay? A few basketball teenagers were so arrogant, as if they were at home, very wanton. Instructor Tian looked at a few people dragging him for 2,580,000 yuan and didn't want to argue with them. He turned around and returned to the class he led, without looking at them again. It hurts. A girl in the team standing next to the basketball court shouted loudly. It turned out that he was hit by a basketball. The boys who were playing took one look at him and showed no intention of apologizing. They turned around and returned to the court with the basketball to continue playing. The girl who was hit by the basketball was in tears, but she did not dare to come forward to argue. She raised her head to face Instructor Zhang from his class. Instructor Zhang looked at the tearful little girl, turned around, and went to the basketball court to argue with the boys. Classmate, you hit a girl in our class while playing basketball. Go over and apologize. There are quite a lot of people in this military training camp. We will be disbanded in 10 or 20 minutes. How about you play again later? Instructor Zhang stepped forward and stood next to a few boys. No, instructor. The playground is so big. Why do you have to train on the basketball court? Can't you move to another place? A man wearing a basketball uniform stopped what he was doing, holding a basketball, and said to Instructor Zhang, "Classmate, the school rules. This period of time on the playground is used for military training for new students. It's not you." Instructor Zhang was interrupted before he finished speaking. Rules. Rules. Why break the rules? I'm playing here now. What can you do to me? The boy holding the basketball looked up at Instructor Zhang with disdain. Xing Zichen looked at the crowd on the basketball court and hurried over to understand the situation without speaking. Several boys said, "Are you their chief instructor? You don't care about your people." After listening to the boy's words, Chi, who was standing in the crowd, sweated nervously and stood on tiptoes uneasily to look in the direction of Xing Zichen. I have a pretty good understanding of the situation. It is very clear that it is military training time now, and irrelevant personnel are not allowed to enter the playground. Everyone, please move on. Xing Zichen made a gesture of invitation and patiently said to several boys. As a result, the boys were very unconvinced. One of them stepped forward and grabbed Xing Zichen's collar. He stared at Xing Zichen with wide eyes, and anger welled up in his heart. Seeing the actions of several boys, the instructors who were watching couldn't stand it anymore and stood up and stepped forward. This situation lasted for half a minute, and the student union president and the school deputy director arrived at the battlefield. "Those classmates, what class are they from? What's going on?" I heard his voice before I saw him. A slightly serious voice broke the silence. Even though the deputy director came, the boys didn't stop. After all, in college, as long as you don't harm the school, society, or yourself, students are free and unfettered. The president of the student union looked at a few people, stepped forward, and put his hand on the shoulder of the boy holding the basketball, dividing the crowd into two groups. The president lowered his head to discuss something with the boy. After a while, the boy holding the basketball smiled and nodded to the instructor, turned around, and left the playground. The deputy director watched several people leave and shouted to the crowd, "Go back and continue training." After saying that, he left in despair. Seeing that nothing happened, Chi breathed a sigh of relief. Time dividing line. Military training life passed day after day, and it seemed that apart from that incident, no other major things happened. On the last day of military training, the freshmen held an orientation meeting on the playground. The orientation party can be without snacks or Coke, but it can't be without talent shows and games. On the last day of military training, even though everyone is wearing military training uniforms, there is no distinction between students and instructors. Come on, everyone. This is your last chance. We can't let the instructors off easily. Is there any way to make the instructors suffer? The freshman host held the microphone and looked like he would never give up until revenge. Truth or dare? Such a classic game cannot be left behind. The classmates standing nearby echoed. Then follow the rules of throwing a handkerchief. If you don't have a handkerchief, use a water bottle instead. Put the water bottle behind others, and the person who put the water bottle will go around the field. If you sit in the position, it will be considered a success, and if you are caught, it will be a failure. The opposite is true for catching someone. Everyone, do you understand? Everyone who wants to participate, come and sit around. The instructor must participate. After the host introduced the rules, everyone stepped forward and hurriedly formed a circle. Chi was squeezed by the crowd and was pushed a few times in a panic. When she saw that she was about to fall to the ground when she couldn't stand still, a pair of big hands stopped her in time. Chi looked up, and a familiar face appeared in front of her eyes. Chi's eyes widened in disbelief, and she was about to say, "Husband." Xing Zichen covered Chi's mouth with one hand and said, "Honey, sit down. Let's play games together." Before Chi could react, she was pushed down and sat on the ground. Everyone. Come on, let's see who is the first lucky winner." As soon as the host finished speaking, Chi saw Xing Zichen standing up suddenly beside her, and the next second she went to chase the person, but failed to catch him. The host stood next to Xing Zichen, took the microphone, and said to Xing Zichen, "Instructor Xing, I'm sorry, come on, truth or dare?" "In the first round, tell the truth," Xing Zichen said. The host looked through the school forum and saw one post after another about Instructor Xing, and then asked, "Is Instructor Xing single? There are many girls on the school forum who are thinking about you." After hearing the host's words, Chi, who had lowered her head to play with grass, immediately raised her head. Unexpectedly, Xing Zichen raised her eyes and looked this way. "Yes, I'm married. And my wife is also from this school." After listening to Xing Zichen's words, a chorus of "wow" rang out, and after a while, the discussion gradually started. At this time, the school forum article hashtag on the relationship between freshmen and instructors went viral again. "Oh my God, you are getting married young." He said, my wife. You really don't love her too much." Sure enough, all the handsome guys are famous and have their wives. My heart is broken. Instructor Xing's wife can't be the girl in the photo. I am surprised. He really made me cry to death. Such an affectionate man. In which direction can I kowtow to meet such a man? I'm so jealous. Okay. Everyone be quiet. Let's continue the game. Even though Sche and Zichen were not sitting together, their eyes could be drawn. Under the control of the host, the game continues, round after round. It seems that our freshman's appearance is quite tough. Come on, this classmate, please introduce yourself. The host handed the microphone to Sche. Hello everyone, I'm Sche from the law department. Being stared at by so many people, it was hard not to feel embarrassed. When she lowered her head to meet Zichen's gaze, Sche spoke much slower. Oh, classmate Sche, truth or dare? Tell me your choice. The host handed the microphone to Sche's mouth. Then let's have a big adventure. Come on, let me draw a card from my hand and read it out for everyone to listen to. The host spread out the cards in his hand and placed them in front of Sche. Sche casually drew one. The moment she opened it, Sche felt not very good, but she seemed a little lucky. Choose one of the boys present and look at each other lovingly for 1 minute. After Sche finished reading, she couldn't help but glance in Zichen's direction. Wow, 1 minute. Look at each other affectionately, the host followed. I'll choose Instructor Sche. After saying that, Sche walked up to Zichen and said, Is it okay, Instructor Sche? Zichen couldn't hide his smile and pulled the girl to squat down together. You two, are you ready? Come on, let's count down for 1 minute. Let's start. Sche raised her head and looked into Zichen's eyes. 3, 2, 1. Okay, the countdown is over. After hearing the host's words, Zichen raised his head and touched Sche's head, then sat down beside him. Instructor Sche's move caused the crowd to cheer again. They wanted to use the game to ask about the relationship between the two, but they failed, so everyone turned their attention to Instructor Tion, who was drinking water leisurely. There is no doubt that Instructor Tion's sincere words satisfied everyone's curiosity. Yes, everyone guessed it right. Sche is my sister-in-law, and I just found out about her during this military training. You can go and condemn Instructor Sche and see how he deceived this little girl into going home. Instructor Tion was not at all panicked, with a sour taste in his tone. Ah, the CP I knocked on is real. I love it. What kind of fairy is this? I got married in my first year of college, and I don't know where my partner is yet. God, what have you done? Look at me, a single guy. Everyone looked at the two people and discussed in low voices. At the same time, posts on the forum exploded again. The welcome party is the end of the welcome party and the end of military training. The end of the welcome party also means the beginning of the study life of the freshmen, the return of the military training instructors, and the separation of Sche and Zichen. After the welcome party, Zichen took Sche and walked on campus. In the huge campus, two thin figures leaned together, calm and indifferent. Under the streetlight, their silhouettes were elongated. Zichen put his arms around Sche's waist, lowered his head, and kissed her. After Sche reacted, she put her arms around Zichen's neck, and the two of them were entangled, looking quiet and beautiful under the light of the street lamp. After the kiss ended, Zichen leaned his head on Sche's shoulder and whispered, Honey, I miss you, I like you so much. I want to stick to you all the time. Feeling the warm breath in her ears, Sche said, I like you so much, so much, so much. The two of them tacitly did not mention the topic of separation after the military training was over. They just held hands and walked along the streetlights, wandering around the empty campus.